Today I'm talking about the British actress Diana Dors, who died in 1984 at the age of 52. But what I really want to discuss is what happened to her missing millions. Diana Dors was a British actress, singer and author. She was thought of as the British Marilyn Monroe, as she had bleached hair and embodied that glamorous blonde bombshell persona. She was born in Swindon, Wiltshire on the 23rd of October 1931. Her birth name was Diana Mary Fluck. Her mother was Winifred Maud Mary Fluck. Her maiden name was Payne. She was known as Mary. She was married to Albert Edward Sidney Fluck, who was a railway clerk. Mary was thought to have had an affair with their close friend, Jerry Lack. So who was Diana's father? Albert may not have been Daddy. Mary was a trained singer, and Albert, known as Bret, played the piano. They would perform at social events. Because Mary enjoyed the spotlight, she encouraged Diana to follow her dreams of becoming a movie star. Diana changed her last name for obvious reasons. She pondered the embarrassment if her name was up in lights and the light bulb didn't work in the letter L in her name. It would spell out a swear word, wouldn't it? So she settled on her maternal grandmother's last name of Dors. This is a statue of Diana, which is in Shaw Ridge Leisure Park in Swindon. One of Diana's boyfriends was Michael Cabourn Waterfield. He would later open the British naughty lingerie shop Anne Summers in 1970. Anne Summers isn't a made-up name. Michael, known as Dandy Kim, named it after one of his ex-girlfriends, and niece, Summers. In 1972, brothers David and Ralph Gold bought it, and there are now 80 shops. Her film debut was in The Shop at Sly Corner in 1947. One of her great successes was the film Yield to the Night in 1956, which was loosely based on Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be sentenced to death for the fatal shooting of her boyfriend. She made the movie The Unholy Wife for RKO Pictures with Rod Steiger in 1957. She married her second husband, comedian Dickie Dawson, in 1959. Diana had her own variety comedy TV show called The Diana Dors Show, which ran from 1959 to 1961. Dickie Dawson starred in it with her. I've recently discovered Match Game on YouTube. I've been binge watching Match Game 73 and Match Game 74. Dickie later would decide that he wanted to be called Richard. He was a permanent guest on this TV show and would later host his own programme, Family Feud, and became the star he always dreamed about. Their son, Mark, was born in 1960, and their second son, Gary, was born in 1962. Her third husband was actor Alan Lake, whom she married in 1968. They had a son, Jason, who was born in 1969. She was a well-known and loved British star. She also appeared in TV programmes, in the theatre, and was a regular guest on chat shows. She became known to a younger generation in 1981 when she appeared in Adam and the Ants music video of the song Prince Charming. Diana played the fairy godmother. Unfortunately, she had a short life. She died at the age of 52 from ovarian cancer at the BMI Princess Margaret Hospital in Windsor on the 4th of May 1984. She had been diagnosed with it 2 years previously. I remember buying 3 of her books from a second-hand bookshop. These were autobiographical books filled with short stories from her life and amusing observations. Things like when Groucho Marx was at the altar and was asked if he would take his bride for better or for worse, and he replied after a long pause, "I'm thinking it over." Later at their wedding reception, she fell through the seat of a wicker chair, and Groucho said, "I've told you dozens of times, that isn't funny." She tells of a story about Spencer Tracy in one of her books. She was present at a party when people were discussing the pros and cons of acting. Spencer had remained silent until finally somebody asked his opinion. A film producer asked, "What do you think about acting as it is today? Should one adopt a method?" Spencer remained silent for a moment longer, then slowly raised his head from the depth of a brandy glass where he had been staring, and replied, "All you got to do is learn the lines." Here is Diana with Phil Silvers. What I want to talk about is the mystery she left behind and something that must have haunted her 3 sons. Diana appeared on the TV show This Is Your Life in 1982. Both Mark and Gary flew in from America to be there with her, as they had grown up in the United States as Richard was granted custody of them. After the show, she gave her oldest son Mark an envelope which had a piece of paper with a code on it. Diana said it was related to money she had put into bank accounts and safety deposit boxes all over Britain, and it was about £2 million in total. She said that her husband, Alan Lake, had the key to explain it. Here is Diana with Jack Benny. This next part talks about the sensitive subject of someone hurting himself, so switch off if you don't want to hear it. 18 months after the TV programme, she died. Alan would die by his own hands 5 months later because he couldn't live without her. He was 43 years old. He actually did it with a gun, and the place he chose to do it was in Jason's bedroom at their mansion, Orchard Manor, in Sunningdale in Windsor. Why did he pick that room out of all of the rooms he could have picked? Why would you do that to your son? Diana only left about £200,000, and that seems a low number considering she was successful and had been working in show business since she was a teenager. Each of her sons received a payment of £50,000. Mark wouldn't get the information from Alan and so was left with a frustrating mystery. The code consisted of 5 letters in a group, and there were 5 groups horizontally across the page, and there were 12 rows. Channel 4 made a documentary about the mystery called Who Got Diana Dors' Millions in 2003. A cryptography firm called Inferens eventually worked out that the code she used was the Vigenère cipher. This code was said to be created in the 16th century by a French diplomat called Blaise de Vigenère, but is actually based on the work of Giovan Battista Belazzo. At the top of the page were 17 symbols, which were revealed to be written in pigpen cipher. Once both codes had been correctly identified, it was easy to break. The 17 symbols at the top of the page in the pigpen cipher spelt out locations and names. The 300 letters in rows written in the Vigenère cipher revealed 19 names and locations. There was a key which was cracked to reveal D. Mary Fluck by a computer system, which was Diana's real name. Here is Diana with Vittorio Gassman. The way the Vigenère cipher is cracked is that every letter is given a number. So A equals 0, B equals 1, C equals 2, and so on. The first 5 letters in the code spelt out EAWVL. So E is the 5th letter in the alphabet and has the value of 4, because A has a value of 0. So E equals 4, and the first letter in the key of D. Mary Fluck is the letter D, which is the 4th letter and has a value of 3. You minus the key letter from the encrypted letter. So this would be 4 minus 3 equals 1. The letter with the value of 1 is B. You then use the second letter of the key, which is M, find its value, find the value of the second encrypted letter, which is A, and do the minus sum, and so on. When you get to the end of the key, you then start at the beginning of the key again. The second encrypted letter is A, and the second letter of the key is M, so A has a value of 0, and M has a value of 12. 0 minus 12 gives a negative 12 answer. With the minus numbers, you count from the letter Z backwards, so 12 steps back gives you letter O. Therefore, the second letter is O. The first group of letters, EAWVL, becomes Bowen, B-O-W-E-N, Bowen. If you link up the correct letters together, the names and locations revealed are as follows: Bowen, Stoke-on-Trent, Richards, Leeds, Woodcock, Winchester, Wilson, York, Downey, Kingston upon Hull, Grant, Nottingham, Sebastian, Leicester, Lee, Ipswich, Morris, Cardiff, Mason, Slough, Edmondson, Portsmouth, Padwell, London, Pyewacket, Brighton, McManus, Sunderland, Coyle, Bournemouth, Humphreys, Birmingham, Dante, Manchester, Bluestone, Liverpool, Cooper, Bristol. The first name on the list is Bowen, and Alan Lake's mum's name was Millicent Bowen. The name Bowen is linked to Stoke-on-Trent, and that is where Alan was born. The name Mason is with the location of Slough. This could be a reference to the Freemasons. Diana's father Bret was a Freemason. There is a Masonic centre on Ragstone Road in Slough. And there is the name Dante linked with Manchester. One of Diana's boyfriends was Troy Dante. He was a singer in the band Troy Dante and the Infernos. The name Pyewacket is linked with Brighton. Pyewacket was the name of a cat in the play and movie Bell, Book and Candle. And Diana said the name in the 1972 horror film The Amazing Mr. Blunden. There was also a clothes shop called Pyewacket in St George's Road, Kemp Town in Brighton. I thought I was onto something because each location has a place name with St George's in it. Each place has a St George's Road, or a St George's Avenue, or a St George's Street, St George's Drive, or St George's Crescent, or even a St George's Way. But I don't know anything else. Maybe it is just a common name, as it is the patron saint of England. Her mansion was sold and all of Diana's possessions were auctioned off to pay for bills and debts. A fan bought a lot of her personal items. In the TV documentary, Mark meets up with the fan and discovers black books listing figures that seem to relate to Diana's payments she received for carrying out her various showbiz jobs. Her younger son Jason confirmed that she wrote down figures in black books. She would ask to be paid in cash for her showbiz engagements. Mark also discovered a bank statement for Midland Bank, which no longer exists. It became part of the HSBC Group in 1992. But guess what? It was in the name of H. Bowen. Bowen is the first name in the list. The deposit amount is of £100,000, which corresponds to an entry made in one of the black books. So for the people who think it is a hoax, there seems to be evidence of one of the names being connected to a bank account. The millions haven't been found. Why didn't she just give Mark all of the information so her 3 sons could benefit from the money? It is so frustrating. The bank managers in those locations should look into the names associated with their individual location to see if there's a dormant account. This needs to be solved for Diana's remaining 2 sons. Only Mark and Gary are still alive. Unfortunately, Jason died on the 14th of September 2019, 3 days after his 50th birthday in Notting Hill Gate, London. He had battled alcoholism and drugs for years and died penniless. He was 14 when his mother died, and he just turned 15 when his father died, so he was an orphan at 15. It must have been awful for him. Diana's final posthumous film appearance was in the movie called Steaming, which was released in 1985. Diana and Alan are buried in Sunningdale Cemetery, Sunningdale, Windsor, in England. Jason was cremated. On Diana's headstone it reads, "Always remembered, forever loved, only a whisper away." I've discovered that before the early 1980s, you could open a savings account in the United Kingdom without any ID. I hope you like that, and I hope we can find out what happened to them, and her 2 sons can get the money. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.